This is not a political video. I know it may seem like one given the timing, but it really isn't. Although sometimes I think it's important to leverage certain events to raise awareness to others. Irrespective of your political views, this is a really important topic that needs to be addressed. Early in September this year, the US Surgeon General issued an advisory on the pressures faced by American parents. If you're unfamiliar with the US Surgeon General, this is a physician that is usually appointed to serve as the country's chief health officer and public health advisor. They have a lot of responsibilities, but one of the things that they do is to issue things like advisories, warnings, reports, and guidelines on pressing healthcare issues that affect a lot of the country's populations. This particular letter is, in my opinion, essentially a 36-page manifesto for expectant parents. Just like we get warning labels on cigarette packs, alcohol, drugs, on their impacts on health, this letter serves as that type of a warning label for people who are thinking of becoming parents. As a nurse, I think I have a very unique perspective on some of these problems because we tend to see firsthand how some of these decisions affect people in real time. It's sometimes easy to forget that parents are people. I don't have children personally, but I have seen how once somebody becomes a parent, they stop getting treated as a person and just become a parent. Once a child is born, the person slash parent just disappears. It becomes all about the child and meeting this child's needs. And this shift unfortunately affects women a lot more. I'm not saying men don't also go through this, but from my own experience, a lot of women are the people who have to undergo this radical transformation. Which is why it's surprising to me that a lot of pregnancies are unplanned. I cannot tell you the number of times that somebody walks into the hospital for some completely unrelated issue and then gets a positive pregnancy test, usually well into their second or early third trimesters. And this is often life-changing news that comes with very often little to no preparation at all. So from a medical perspective, let me tell you what to expect from the moment you get that positive pregnancy test. The stress of being a new parent is unlike anything you have ever experienced. With other life stressors, there are a lot of ways to cope and manage around this. A lot of the times you can get away from a stressor, you can remove that stressor from your life. But with parenthood, you cannot do any of those, at least not without legal consequences. You can't just abandon a child, you can't just walk away, although people do. The mental load of caring for a fully dependent human being is something that is indescribable. Balancing complex schedules, anticipating every need, and making countless decisions daily is not something that a lot of parents are prepared for. And many parents report that these stressors affect not only their lives, but their relationships and their productivity. There's also the added financial responsibility of becoming a parent. And I'm not just talking about the basic needs like food and shelter. Here we're talking about weather appropriate clothes, age appropriate toys, and all other basic needs. This adds up. There is the next thing of the fact that children get sick a lot. They're like magnets for disease. And that's because they're fragile and unpredictable. So you have to be prepared for the late night fevers, the aspirations, the teething, the ear infections, the RSV infections, the flus. It is a non-stop issue, and you cannot just ignore some of these things because, again, children don't have the immune systems to fight off some of these diseases, which means you'll make a lot of trips to the doctor's office and sometimes a lot of ER trips as well. Now, imagine this situation if you're with a child with special needs. Amplify this by 100 because then you have to think of special schools, special doctors, special activities, and your entire life will revolve around this child. So let's consider the situation of what happens if you have this child as a single parent. Are you able to bear a lot of these responsibilities by yourself? And it's important to note that not every single parent starts out as a single parent. So as an adult human being choosing to bring a child into this world, you need to be able to sit with yourself and agree to take care of this child by yourself if that becomes the only option. Then there is the issue of employment. A lot of Americans depend on getting healthcare insurance from their employers or their companies. But I cannot tell you the amount of times that women get pregnant, go on maternity leave, and get laid off, either during maternity leave or shortly thereafter when they return back into the office. And there are not a lot of safety nets available for parents when this happens. A lot of these layoffs can come from the loss of productivity that comes with having to keep up with a child, or just from corporate greed. So now you've lost your job, but then you need health insurance from said job to go to your countless doctor's appointments that you will need because your child is getting constantly sick. Everything I've mentioned is really just scratching the surface of what happens in early childhood. So this is what you should expect within the first few months of becoming a parent. As the child grows, these needs evolve. They become adolescents, and your role shifts from caregiver to guidance counselor. Do you have the right mental capacity to guide a child into making the right decisions early on in life? Then they become teenagers and they start experimenting with drugs and sex. Are you equipped to continue to provide the best form of parenting throughout those years? For a lot of parents, they go hands off. Is that the kind of parent you want to be? Parenthood is hard, and not a lot of people are talking about it. There is not a lot of support for parents. There is not a lot of community resources for parents. There's not a lot of financial resources made available to parents. And for a decision that seems to be made with very little consideration, this seems like something that a lot more people should think about. So if you're thinking of becoming a parent, I really urge you to think deeply about this decision and prepare the best you can. I don't think any amount of preparation that you do is going to prepare you for the reality of what happens with parenthood.